And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
Bill Maher just unleashed on Zohran Mamdani with a blazing fury that feels impossible to ignore, turning the entire moment into pure late-night theater that crackles with tension and sharp humor. The seasoned provocateur shredded the New York lawmaker's ultra-progressive pitch, joking that Mamdani's big win basically worked like a ready-made campaign ad for conservatives, sparking laughs and shock at the same time as he tore into every over-the-top idea with ruthless precision. Maher's takedown isn't soft or subtle. It's cutting, relentless, and wickedly funny, hitting with the kind of force that makes you blink twice just to catch the rapid-fire chaos unfolding right in front of you. Blink once and you'll miss the next jab. So seriously, grab some popcorn fast because this wild scene explodes with entertainment from the very start.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's, you know, Bernie is,
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie is, I mean, he's not a capitalist, you know?
No, he's not. And he's also not president.
He's not, but
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, no, but he will, trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people, they boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
Maher isn't wrong. Republicans don't have to invent a scary version of Zohran Mamdani when he practically steps into that role every time he opens his mouth, making the job effortless for anyone watching his rise. With Mamdani appearing to be on track for a major New York mayoral win, skeptics warn that his victory could become a political jackpot for the GOP, glowing like a giant neon sign declaring that Democrats are drifting deeper into an ideological fantasy that many voters find alarming. Mamdani insists he's simply a democratic socialist, but that reassurance mainly lands inside his own cheering circle, not among the wider audience that actually swings elections. And Maher isn't buying the pitch at all because Mamdani represents that starry-eyed left-wing dreaming that sounds noble on paper, yet hands conservatives a perfectly wrapped talking point every single time he speaks.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah.
At first glance, Mamdani's pitch glows with a dreamy, utopian shine that feels warm, polished, and ready for magazine covers, pulling people in with promises that sparkle like they're too perfect to fail. But tug at the edges and the fantasy fades fast into something much darker, revealing cracks that seasoned observers recognize instantly, especially anyone who has watched socialist experiments crumble into disappointment before. Dreamers may swoon over the beautiful wording and soft imagery, yet for those who remember the past, it all feels like history's cold rerun dressed up as fresh hope, repeating familiar warnings wrapped in new packaging that can't hide the truth for long.
I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Socialist projects have crashed so many times that most people treat the whole ideology like a hot stove they learned not to touch, even though a younger crowd still gets dazzled by shiny promises of fairness and effortless futures that sound almost magical. The real problem isn't just human selfishness, it's how people actually function, because humans thrive on challenge, incentive, and the belief that their ideas and effort matter, and when competition is stripped away and rewards are flattened, everything slows down until the entire engine begins to stall. Before long, paper pushers multiply, waste spreads, and a system built for equality twists into a maze of frustration and bitterness, proving again what history has already shouted loudly, that when government grabs control of everything, the machine eventually buckles under the weight. Mamdani's proposals, full of state giveaways and sweeping control, might look gentle and noble on a glossy flyer, but in reality they wobble quickly, because without room to build, trade, and dream freely, progress crawls until everyone ends up equal only in disappointment instead of real prosperity.
When the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both.
Britain stands as a powerful warning, because in the early 20th century, the country pushed hard into socialist ideals, promising fairness, shared wealth, and a level playing field that sounded bold, hopeful, and almost heroic to every citizen listening. But as the years moved forward, that grand vision faded quickly, with once vibrant industries taken into state hands and smothered beneath layers of slow, heavy red tape until output collapsed, prices surged, and the economic engine barely sputtered along. The equality leaders fought for didn't lift the nation upward, it dragged nearly everyone down, and by the 1970s, Britain had earned the bleak title the sick man of Europe, a name that reflected the deep struggles weighing the country down. Only when Thatcher introduced market-driven reforms did Britain finally begin to shake off the stagnation, clawing its way back to energy and vitality, proving just how damaging that earlier experiment had become.
Beyond saying that we're going to make a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA plus New Yorkers, beyond saying that we're going to establish an office of LGBTQIA plus affairs, is also that we're going to provide $65 million in funding for gender-affirming care, the same amount of funding that the federal government threatened to pull out from local providers for that kind of work.
Maher worries that Zohran Mamdani could become a political trapdoor for Democrats, the kind that suddenly drops the party out of the center and straight into serious trouble, especially at a time when voters are already sensitive to extreme shifts. He knows that whenever Democrats drift too far left, they lose the moderates who often decide elections, and many people backed Donald Trump as a reaction to what they believed was progressive overreach, including charged debates around youth gender-affirming care that stirred national emotion. Yet Mamdani seems ready to walk straight back into that cultural wildfire, with critics saying he is championing major private fundraising connected to policies tied to those same heated issues, doubling down on one of the most emotionally explosive battles in American politics. To Maher and Democrats who value pragmatism over purity tests, Mamdani's blueprint isn't bold, it's disastrous, offering Republicans a gift-wrapped argument that the left has wandered away from common sense, real-world priorities, and the everyday concerns of regular voters who decide outcomes.
He has attacked you personally and publicly like this.
He's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist.
I don't like to see a communist become mayor, I will tell you that.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. We should never be in a position where we're talking about a communist.
We're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party.
There's no sugarcoating it. Trump doesn't need to paint Mamdani as some looming threat when Mamdani handles the theatrics all by himself, offering ideas so dramatic that they practically stage the whole performance for him. He's floated plans for government-run grocery stores and free citywide transit, a sweeping vision that puts the state in charge of huge parts of everyday life and raises eyebrows even among people who enjoy ambitious proposals. And while he calls himself a democratic socialist, his tone and policies echo the far-left playbook a little too closely for comfort, landing neatly into the storyline that Democrats are drifting toward full-blown socialism whether they admit it or not. Noble intentions aside, the entire platform walks, talks, and waddles like something straight out of a deeply familiar script. And as the saying goes, if it looks like a duck and speaks fluent duck, well, everyone knows exactly what that means.
This vision of democratic socialism, it's one that often comes back to what Martin Luther King said decades ago. A vision of, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. Here in New York City, wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world,
1 in 4 are in poverty. 500,000 kids go to sleep hungry every night. It's untenable to live with this kind of a divide. We have to actually have a politics that puts working people first.
A curious thing happens when you zoom in on Mamdani's message. His pitch might sound shiny and fresh to some listeners, but it's really just a replay of old political slogans dressed up to look new, filled with lofty promises of fairness, equal opportunity, and shared prosperity wrapped in stirring language and carefully chosen statistics meant to ignite belief. Yet history shows a clear and predictable pattern, because once the applause fades and real power settles in, the romantic glow begins to crack, exposing policies that slow achievement and smother enterprise until the excitement drains away. That's not the direction New York needs, nor the path America ever relied on, since the nation's strength was built on the freedom to compete, create, and chase possibility, not on micromanaged dreams or forced sameness that dull ambition. Betting against the formula that produced American prosperity never ends well, and if the past has a voice in this moment, it's warning loudly that the ending won't change, with Maher, ever the realist beneath the jokes, seeing that outcome long before others do.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Well, it wasn't so much his aunt as his dad's cousin, but, semantics. Douglas, is he ready to lead?
No, in absolutely no way is he ready to lead, and that was just another reminder of it. This is such a self-involved little narcissist with so little going for him.
And that's the playbook, isn't it? Craft slightly polished, heart-tugging stories designed to stir emotion and gather support. A classic political move refined over decades and used whenever someone needs to build fast loyalty. For Democrats fluent in identity-driven storytelling, Zohran Mamdani's narrative fits perfectly. Sentimental and symbolic, wrapped in virtue, framed as progress, and presented as compassion that shines just enough to win admiration from the crowd. The political machine will adore it, lifting him up as a champion of the unheard and a moral compass for the city. But those who look beyond the soft focus framing and dramatic language see a very different picture beneath the glow. They won't be fooled by poetic monologues or carefully curated struggles because they understand that stirring narrative isn't the same as steady leadership. And Mamdani's story, while enchanting for idealists, feels like stagecraft delivered with emotion but hollow exactly where real substance should be.
But he even decides to turn the memory of 9/11 and the 3,000 Americans that day into a story about his aunt and the subway. It's interesting, like so many things that this smarmy candidate does, he makes it about himself and it all turns out to be untrue anyway. It seems to the extent that he had any such aunt in question, she wasn't in New York at the time, and in any case, didn't wear the headscarf.
Turns out that warm and glowing origin story surrounding Zohran Mamdani doesn't shine as brightly once it's examined up close. Even though in deep blue New York, the rules often bend, and loyalty outweighs evidence in ways that defy basic logic. He looks set to glide into office despite the narrative fissures already showing, and the real suspense isn't about whether he wins, but what unfolds once his campaign poetry collides with the harsh, unpolished grind of running one of the world's most chaotic cities. Slogans are easy, but governing New York is an entirely different arena, and watching Mamdani face that pressure will be fascinating because his rise doesn't feel like a triumphant leap forward. It reads more like a flashing caution sign, warning of what might come next. Behind the polished speeches and sugar-dusted socialist dreams sits a philosophy history hasn't exactly celebrated, and Maher's alarm bells ring loudly for a reason, because if Mamdani steers New York down that road, the damage won't stop at City Hall. It could reshape the entire Democratic brand in ways that ripple far beyond the city. And with that, we wrap today's breakdown. So if this hit the mark, go ahead and tap like and subscribe for more. Appreciate you watching and catch you next time.